The Atlas Post. Well, students can now be happy, we're talking about international students, because the U.S. rescinds a plan to strip visas from international students in online classes. This is a rare and swift immigration policy reversal that the Trump administration rescinded from a July 6 ruling that international students would be deported if they only held their classes online. Opposition was building from universities, Silicon Valley, and 20 states as the administration felt the pressure added to the contribution of $41 billion to the U.S. economy annually, supporting more than 458,000 jobs from the international students. And the stories were out there. They were basically saying, look, in our country, we don't have access to the internet. We've already paid our rent. We might not come back. So between all of that pressure, yes, they decided to go ahead and rescind the July 6 ruling. Oh, and of course, add to that pressure that there's increasingly growing coronavirus cases, and there's the reversal. Yes, they're reversing the opening of so many states that are now hotspots for COVID-19. Here in Los Angeles, we have the distinction of having the most coronavirus cases in the country. Yes, in the United States. On Tuesday, minutes before a federal judge in Boston was to hear the arguments on the challenge, and this is from Harvard and MIT, about the restrictions, well, let's just say that administration announced that they had agreed to rescind the policy. I guess they had a pretty good case. Administration wanted the classes to resume in person because they thought that was much better, and they wanted the schools to go ahead and reopen. But with the growing coronavirus cases and literally the reclosing of so many of the economies, well, let's just say they had a little bit of extra add. This was actually surprising because they were actually requiring that the students take at least one in-person class, which was more lenient than the rule that had been in effect for close to 20 years, which required these foreign students to take most of their classes in person. This was just one person in-person class because USC had already had a professor that was going to go ahead and teach one class so they could go ahead and stay in the country. When they made the ruling, this is from Kenneth T. Cuccinelli, the acting deputy secretary of the Homeland Security, after the policy was announced that they should go home. Basically, if they're not going to be a student or they're going to be 100% online, they don't have a basis to be here. They should go home and they can return when the school opens. Well, it's not quite that easy because they'd already paid for school. They'd already paid for rent. And let's just say it's not the same as them not being there in person. It's not only getting not getting the experience of being a student with all your peers, but there was a lot of pressure. Harvard President Lawrence Bacow, of course, called it a significant victory, and actually it was pretty significant. While the government may attempt to issue a new directive, our legal arguments remain strong, and the court has retained jurisdiction, which would allow us to seek judicial relief immediately to protect our international students should the government act unlawfully. When you looked at the statistics, some of the schools had certain departments like engineering, like 70 or 80% of the students in engineering were international. So this was really, really important to the schools. And some of their endowments or some of the money that's paid to help run the university, there were some universities that half of their money that they received was coming from international students. And MIT's president said that the institution stands ready to protect our students from any further arbitrary policies because the case was made abundantly clear that real lives are at stake in these matters with the potential for real harm. I wanted to go ahead and show you this chart. This shows you that when they rescinded the foreign student rule, just where the students were coming from. In fact, 768,260 foreign students came from Asia, 90,000 came from Europe, Middle East and North Africa had 81,000, and Latin America and the Caribbean had 80,000 also. And this is one of the things that they mentioned. The City College of a New York student said, returning home would have made it much harder to finish her thesis and pursue a PhD. Internet access at home in Ecuador is spotty, she said, and going through the process to come back to the U.S. in the future would be too expensive. So this really was affecting some of these students an awful lot. And this doesn't even include, of course, paying rent. It was just what they were mentioning. But here's the great part is you don't have to worry about it. You're not paying attention to it. It's rescinded. But we will keep you updated because there's much more news coming back soon. Congress will be in session July 20th, so we do expect many conversations regarding the stimulus package and more. But for many of you, happy tax day. It is over with. Taxes are filed, or at least your extension has been. So now you can relax a little bit. And I'm Joy Atlas, and I've been creating videos to update, to help you get loans, update you on students. Oh yes, and unemployment. I'd love to get some coffee to help me keep me up late at night. And if you would love to, you can buy me a cup of coffee or two. Or catch up with me on Patreon for the Atlas Post. Info, of course, is available in the video description. You can also help us by sharing our videos, liking them, making comments, checking out our playlist, and subscribing for the latest updates. Yes, you can be the first to receive them. Tap into your news with the Atlas Post. Have a joyful day.